Alright guys, welcome back to another everyday makeup drawer refresh. This is going to be for the month of July. I'm starting the shot wide. I always like to start just the shot wide to show you guys that on this side is really my everyday makeup drawer plus my project pan items, and then over here is all of the items that I'm testing. So it's usually low at the very end of the month, beginning of the month, because I've moved these into like a different basket in the closet where they go for speed reviews, because I always do my speed reviews at the beginning of the month or the end of the month. So the idea is that we fill this up with new items that I keep to my right of stuff that I have not tested more than even maybe once, or just products that I bought for myself that I haven't even tried yet, and then to refresh the second set of drawers for my everyday makeup and try and rotate my permanent collection. So that's what we're going to get into. I think we will start over here today, just like we did last month, so we can go over refreshing the stuff that I need to test. I hope the lighting in here is okay. Today I'm filming this video pretty late in the day. It has been an absolute crazy week, crazy couple of weeks. Been house hunting for my grandmother on top of trying to work and then moving my father-in-law here. It's been crazy. So this is where I keep all the lip products. I literally only have one left, and I swear I've had this in here for 2 months. This is from Black Moon Cosmetics. It's a metallic lip that I just haven't had a chance to try more than one time because it's a super bright red shade and it's metallic. So I have to like have a look to wear this in my everyday life, and I just haven't had a chance. So this has to stay. This I bought for myself. It's the oil control roller, the matte touch up from Makeup Revolution. It's like a volcanic roller. I haven't even tested this, and I think I've had this for a couple of weeks. I think it can come out of the box now. I think it has a lid on it. Yeah, it does. Okay, I've just like adjusted the camera again. I want to see how this works. Ideally, it would be fantastic for me in the summertime. I just tested it just now and it wasn't like rolling properly. So I've just got it like super dirty, like rolling across my foundation. That's disgusting. Anyway, now that it's rolling, I still want to give this a shot. Maybe it's something that I like throw in my purse. I don't know. Ideally, it would be really nice for my more oily skin in the summertime. So I'll keep this up here, take it out of the box. Now here's where I keep all of my singles. I have completely emptied this drawer out. All of the singles that were in here, tested them all. Feel super good about it. So let's see, I think I might have a couple more singles. I really don't have more than just this one. So I think I got this free with purchase. It might have been like the foundation that I purchased, or even the new like sun cream flush blush that I picked up. This came with it. It's in Bionic Bronze. It actually looks like a really good single shadow shade. I'm literally trying to get this thing to focus like over and over. It's driving me bonkers. So let's pull this out and I will give this a shot. I don't think this is like a new release or anything. I think they've had this in their line. But I'm always into testing the shadow sticks from a bunch of different brands. I haven't tried like too many high-end, and probably just not that many in general. And I'm pretty critical of them overall. There's only probably a couple that I like in my collection. This one is in the shade, oh, I said it already, Bionic Bronze. Okay, so let's put that in here. And that is literally the only one that I have. But I just went and grabbed something else that I've had for a while. This is from JCat. It's the Liquid Makeup Setter, and it's not focusing again. It is Lock Your Pigment for all day wear anywhere on the face. This would be something that I mean, ideally I wanted to try this, I think for like my base makeup, but this could be good for anything. It says mix with your favorite pigment or non-oil based makeup to create a waterproof formula. Okay, so some kind of blush that isn't oil based, which even some powder blushes are oil based. So I don't know exactly what I would use this with, like something powder, like maybe a non-oil based blush or bronzer even, to make it lock down. And I've just been kind of ignoring this because I feel like I didn't, oh, how come it's like a quarter of the way full? Like, what is this about? Okie dokie. Anyway, I've been ignoring it because I read it and was like, that's not exactly what I thought it was gonna be, but I'm gonna give it a go. I'm gonna force myself to try and use this. I'm a little upset that it's like literally a quarter of it is gone at this point. Like, what is that about? Okay, why? All right, good stuff. So I've actually been really good. I have not purchased any more lip products, so that's fabulous. I have no more to go in here. I did buy like a full face of AOA Studio makeup that I want to test out, and I feel like I have some lip products in there that will end up going in here like later in the month, but I don't have any right now. Now this is where I generally start off the blushes, and if you guys know, last month I had so many blushes in here. I cleared them all out. I tested them all. In fact, I moved one down here because this one has already gone into a speed reviews. This is one of the new LYS. This one was in the shade Elite. I just find these really, really pigmented, and I was trying to decide whether or not this was a shade that I was gonna like because it honestly is very, very vibrant. It just isn't. This is just, I don't like how intensely pigmented these are. I have a hard time like really diffusing them out. They're just such a dense pigment. I feel like they look kind of awkward on me. And as much as I kind of like the radiance and like the little bit of sheen and metallicness that this gives, I have another shade that I prefer more because I picked up 2 shades. So I am going to pass this along to someone else. That was the only reason that this stayed in here, was to kind of retest the shade. And yeah, I did that. So I'm just gonna move it along. Ooh, that It Cosmetics is like not coming off. It's a good sign. Now down here, I do have all the Rare Beauty blushes. I lost Joy because it broke, so I had to send it back to Sephora. So I have these 5 shades, but there are some shades in here that I know I can pass along because they're just too much for me. I did test them all in a video, like a dedicated video. This one is in Sheer, and it's really great for my skin tone. One that I feel like I've worn like pretty recently in this last month, I feel like was Happy, and I really liked it. It's just a lighter shade. It's really good for my skin tone. So all these lighter ones I want to hold on to, and it's such a shame because Joy was so pretty. And I've used Truth, but it's definitely a little bit intense for my skin tone. Let's see, I feel like all of these except this one in Love. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna like keep testing these. I liked Truth even though it was deep for me. I don't know if it's something I want to hold on to, but this is like a terracotta shade, which might actually be cool. So I'm still gonna keep these in here to test these ones, but I might do like one a day. So I might just use these like one more time just to test the shades out again. I think I have a pretty good idea about the formula. I'm actually gonna switch drawers and put them there because I do need to grab some more blush and put it in here because I'm accumulating so much blush from all the different blush launches. I need to really test more. And what I like to do is I generally will take the blushes that are like oldest in my collection and then rotate them in first. It's the FIFO method. Oh my gosh, there's so much blush over there. It's wild. But I think based on memory, and I could be wrong, it's gonna go in this order. There's just so much blush over there. But if I start to use these up and move these along, then I will rotate in more. It just so happened that the last blush that I was testing, I ended up wearing, I want to say yesterday. So like I didn't really get to flush this out. So I'm going to pull in the Spring Magic Blush Palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. This formula is generally so lightly pigmented that it's not super intense when it goes on the cheeks, and so a lot of these colors you can really buff out and they look pretty. I'm gonna pull that one in. And then I picked up some blushes for myself from Colored Rain when they were having a sale, and some of these were so affordable. They were so inexpensive. The Copper Rose Cream Blush, I don't even know if these are still available for sale because they were so heavily discounted. I feel like they were getting rid of them. This is a nice coral shade, I would say. I'm excited to test this formula. And then this is actually a glow lighter. It's like a highlighter, but I thought it would be great in this deep shade, which is Just Peachy, to use as a blush. Oof. I've been really liking doing that. Like, look how vibrant this is. I feel like this would be so good as a blush. Oh my goodness. And beautiful, like shimmery. Yikes, that looks so good. All right, we'll pull that in. And the final one is another cream blush. This one is in Floral. I guess that's pretty much it. I featured these in an indie brand haul video like a while back, but there have been so many blush launches. And this one is so different than the other cream one because instead of like being kind of dewy or thin and emollient, this one is more like dry and kind of a whipped texture. Now, am I going to love this shade? I don't know. I swear this was like a $2 blush. So I'm gonna give the shade a shot. The formula feels great. It feels like it is really that, like, maybe not cream to powder, but it definitely buffs out. Like once I was rubbing it in, it really seems like it kind of dries down to like a semi-matte finish. So let's pull these 3 in with the blush palette. I'm almost feeling like that's enough, especially with my everyday makeup drawer of blush that I like to rotate. I feel like that's enough. And if I need to rotate more in, I can at that point. So I'm going to leave it. Let's move on to this next drawer, which is going to be highlighters. I think one's like a highlighting blush. I bought it to be a blush, but I swatched it yesterday and it was no good. But the highlighting palette that I have, the Natasha Denona Golden highlighting palette, I only used this once in the video. I have not used it again. I feel like these two shades will work for me. The only thing is, like, I'm going to have to like glue them back in. They're not magnetic. Crap, I literally just dug my fingernail like right into that shade. Anyway, we'll bring this one in as a highlighter. And then I purchased this just recently. If you guys saw my like testing the 23 different highlighting blush formulas, you know that I had tested a shade that I already had in my collection, but I wanted something that was a little bit more pink. So I went on Amazon. This one's called Drunk in Blossom, but it got here and it's so lightly pink. It's not pink enough to really be a blush. These are actually called the highlighting blushes, or 2-in-1 highlighting blushes on Amazon. But the other one had really decent pigmentation. I don't feel like this one has enough. Like, it looks like it would be a great pink shade. Then when I swatched it, it's like pink highlighter. Maybe just not as intense. So I was gonna try it as a highlighter, but maybe I end up using it as a blush. I don't know. That's pretty light. Like, that looks more like a highlighter to me. Anyway, I think we'll put this in with the highlighters and give it a go. The cat is in here and she's like tearing up my new rug. Listen, lady. Okay, so I don't have any new bronzers to test. I have no new foundations to test, no new mascaras, nothing. I've like been doing pretty good and not buying a bunch of like new makeup to test. So I think we're done with this drawer, but we need to move on over here to my everyday makeup drawer. Okay, so I do have a couple of things in Project Pan. I've got the e.l.f. Flawless Satin Foundation that I haven't gotten much use out of. That's still in my Project Pan. The Dior, I mean, like, forever and ever in Project Pan, I guess. And I'm still trying to use up the Catrice Multi-Fixing, I don't know, it's like the matte setting spray. I just have been using this quite a bit, pretty frequently, and it's nice. I feel like I'm getting through it. If you guys saw any of my other everyday makeup drawers at this point, you know that I've been struggling to like rotate these lip products out, but I did such a better job in using a lot of these formulas that now I can really rotate them out. So I had 2 Bite Beauty lipsticks here, like old, they're long gone, and one of them had a couple of uses left and this one had like 1 use left. So I still think that I want to keep this here to continue using this. Again, I think it's got 1 use left. I'm determined. I will not let it go. So that one is going to stay. I have the Winky Lux that I've had up here for 2 months. This is in the shade Posh, like P-A-W-S-H, because it's got a picture of a little kitty in there. And it is a kind of peachy shade, but it's got more of like a mauve-y tone to it, because if you get like the center of the lipstick, it turns a little bit more than just peach. I've used this a couple of times and it can definitely go back, so I don't need to keep this up here. And I may not add to this at all. I just may be like working on the ones that end up staying. This one from Bite Beauty is another one that I'm trying to like, I guess, pan maybe. This has so much left. This is in Juniper. It's such a nice like kind of hot pink shade. Maybe not hot pink, but like a deep pink. And I've used it a couple of times last month, so this one can go back as well. And then Rare Beauty, I've been using this pretty frequently. It's one of the balms, and I don't even know if this is made anymore, the Dewy Lip Balms in Sincere, and I freaking love it. It's like the lighter version of a mauve, like it's almost like more pink than like a deep purple. I don't know, it's just so flattering. It's like the mixture of pink and purple on me, and it's so comfortable. But I've used this like crazy, so I feel like it can also go back too. I don't want to keep it up here and ignore some of my other ones. It wasn't like a dedicated Project Pan or anything. The ones that were the Marc Jacobs, and guys, I've been using this like crazy in the month. It is so freaking gorgeous. It's got 10 uses left. Like, I'm really trying to work on it. Of course, once I get to the end, I'm gonna start like scraping it, and that's gonna carry out forever. But this is like the prettiest pink with like blue reflect sparkle lip glosses. And honestly, when this is gone, I'm gonna be sad. So I'm gonna keep that up here. I'm still working on the Kiko Milano, the 3D Effect lip gloss. And because I was using some of the other lip products that we're putting back, I definitely ignored this one, so it needs to stay. And then I pulled the Clarins lip oil in, the 1-in-08 Strawberry last month. I only used it 1 time, so it needs to stay. These glosses have been in here for 2 months. The Fenty in Fenty Glow, and then the Juvia's Place in Sis. I only used the Fenty, I feel like once, but I didn't use the other two. I'm also project panning the Jouer. It's the little lip topper in rose gold. I've used quite a bit of this as well. Like, I'm scraping this tube. It's project pan, so it's gonna stay. I'm gonna keep this little Dior Lip Maximizer like tester sampler. I ended up buying a full size. You guys, I'm not in love with this formula. I'm just not. It's not everything I was hoping it was and more. So these ones are gonna go like forefront. Now the one from Beauty Bakery that's like a matte lip, oh, I love it. It's such a beautiful mauve shade and it's such a comfortable matte formula. I feel like I used it several times, so it probably needs to go back. You know what? I'll probably just keep this out here because it's like the only matte one that I'm keeping out here. It doesn't have a scent yet, but I feel like it's teetering on the edge of having one. So I feel like that probably needs to be panned or used and then tossed. I have so many lip products that at this point I'm ignoring because I pulled too many in after I did a lip product declutter. I just pulled way too many in, so I've been overwhelming myself with lip products and haven't had a chance to test them. All right, this one can definitely go back. This is the L'Oreal Lip Glossy Balm Stain thing in Be Outstanding. I say that because the name is like super long. I wore this a bunch. It is so freaking beautiful. It's like a stain, but it's glossy, but it's long wearing. And then when the gloss fades off, it's like a matte. The new Revolution like pout tints remind me of this formula. It's like the closest thing I've been able to find to this, but I think this is still good. I'm gonna hold on to this. I'm gonna put it back though in my collection. All right, and then up top here, I had two things from Lunar Beauty. Haven't even touched these, you guys. I've just been focusing on these glosses up here, and they're older. Like these have like that, it's I'm on the edge smell. Yeah. So I still want to keep these in here. I feel like these are both, yeah, lip glosses. So the pink sparkly one is in Divine, and then this one is in Aura, which is like a nudie mauve color. So I'll get use out of these this month for sure. And then the Make Beauty sticks that I don't know what they're called, like High Shine something something. The reason I pulled these in here is because Make Beauty products tend to not last super long. So I wore Equilibrium, which is more of kind of nudie peach shade, and these are good. These aren't super high shine, but they do have decent lasting power to them. I got a pretty similar shade, not intentionally, it's just like a little bit, no, it's deeper, it's much deeper. You know what, now that I think about it, this brown shade in Supernova, I'm gonna pass this along. I almost never reach for like super brownie shades like that, and honestly, if I did, there are other formulas in my collection that I like better. I would rather just hold on to the one in Equilibrium that's a little bit lighter. It's just more of like an everyday wearable shade for me, so pass one, keep one. And then this is in my Project Pan, the Marc Jacobs lip liner in Primrose, and I've still been using it like crazy. It's still got a ton of product left. I feel like using up lip liners takes like severe dedication. Plus I don't use lip liners all the time. These little ones in the back are just my Makeup Forever ones that like don't fit in a drawer. So this, so good. I feel like this is so much cleaner, and I am going to use the ones that are probably not on the edge of expiration first this month so that they can go back in rotation. Next month, I plan to actually replenish this. This is all I'm gonna reach for in the month of July, I promise. All right, let's move on to primers over here. I only had one primer, and it's the Tula Filter Primer. It's a blurring and moisturizing primer. I've had this in my collection, and I didn't love it when I first tested it. And then at some point, I ended up pulling it back out and realizing I loved it. And so I wanted to pull it in rotation. All that to say, this is now totally expired. It stinks. I've gotten good use out of it, but the last time I grabbed it, I was like, oh, this is just done. So this one is gonna get thrown in the trash. So I think we'll actually pull in another primer. Like that was my goal, was to like start rotating in primer. So we'll start doing that. Now this next one was my Everyday Makeup Drawer blush. I had two Milani baked blushes. I had one Buxom. I have the Sunday Fridays, like no longer available, apparently it was limited edition cream blush. And then I had a also discontinued cream blush from Laura Mercier. So I didn't really get to use the Milani too much. I want to say Dolce Pink like one time, just not enough use. Those have been in there for 2 months again. The Buxom, I had one, I used it right away, decided to declutter it, but this one I feel like, again, I just used once. So I'm like over here on this side of the drawer just using those and testing them because so many blush launches came out. So I haven't been focusing on this too much. So I feel like this month I'm definitely gonna hit these blushes. But these two I can totally put back. The Summer Fridays, I wore a bunch. I felt so good about it. This one is in the shade Dusty Rose. But again, it's like, you know, discontinued, so you can't even get it anyway. So this is just something that I like using in my personal life. I think I'm even wearing this like right now. I think I put this on today. It's been a long day, so I don't know if it was like today I used it or yesterday. Who the heck knows at this point? That's literally how crazy things have been. But I've used that a bunch. This one from Laura Mercier is in Praline, and because it's kind of a discontinued product, it's like a little bit older in my collection, but it's still creamy, and it's this beautiful like nudie peach shade. The light is like washing it out, but it's honestly very flattering. I think it still performs well and it still smells good. So because I've used that a bunch, it can go back. I believe that this is enough. Between the blushes that I pulled in to test and then my everyday makeup drawer, it just needs to stay with these three, because these three being in here for 2 months means I need to get use out of them and then move on. So if I add more, I might ignore them. So let's not do that. Let's move to bronzers. It has been my goal to cut down my cream and liquid bronzer collection to really only the ones that I like. So that's what I've been doing for the last 2 months, is rotating through the bronzers and testing them to decide whether or not I want to keep them or declutter them. I've been doing such a good job, especially because I haven't been purchasing a bunch of new bronzers. So all the ones in here, I've made decisions on. So the Catrice, no, this one's the NYX, sorry, the Catrice is the other one. It's the Wonder Stick. So on one side it has a contour, it's like a shaping stick essentially, and then on the other side is a highlighter. I don't typically like cream highlighters. Some are okay, but I'm not a huge fan of cream highlighters. I would much prefer a liquid that I can bounce in with a sponge, or a powder. That's just my personal preference. And this is in the shade Universal Light, but honestly, it's quite dark on me. Like when I blend this out, it actually looks more dark than I would figure it would. So this I'm gonna pass along. It's just not my favorite kind of cream stick, so I don't need to torture myself. Now the Charlotte Tilbury contour wand, I have gone back and forth. Do I love this? Do I not love this? I actually love this. And so at one point I had this in my project pan because there's more air in here than there is anything else. I'm debating, like, should I keep this one in here or should I put it back? I kind of feel like I want to put it back because I've used it so much, which is so funny because like look how much darker it is than this one. But for whatever reason, like when you put one dot of this on, just like one, and I buff it into my skin, it looks almost more red leaning on me than this one that kind of turns out like more orange. It's just the way that it seems to fare on my skin. So I really do enjoy this, even though I have hated it, loved it, hated it, loved it. I don't know in what order, but that's how I felt about this product over the years. So I'm gonna put this back in the drawer because I do like this and I do like having this. So I don't necessarily want to like pan it and then get rid of it, because then I feel like I would miss it. So I'm gonna move this out of the everyday makeup and replenish it with something else. Moving on to the Catrice, which was the Shape and Define contour stick. It was really nice. Don't get me wrong, it's a better shade match than the one from NYX, but I still don't need it. There are other ones that I prefer more than this, and it's like a stiffer formula. So as far as a preferred formula, not my favorite in my collection as far as creams go. So I can move it along. And then also it has like it's a highlighting stick. You're like contouring and then highlighting the center of your nose, and that is not something that I do. So half of this is kind of useless for me, and I don't want to keep like a half useful product. I would rather pass it along to somebody else. The last one that I had was the Tarte Man-Eater Silk Stick in the shade Dusk. And I remember really liking this because it was light toned, but I knew it pulled like almost a little bit yellow on me. So I pulled this one back in to make a decision. It's just too yellow. It's such a beautiful creamy formula, but like look at like how orange-ish yellow is that? And how many more sticks do I have in my collection that look better than this? I mean, I would even grab for the Catrice one over this one like any day because it's so freaking orange yellow looking. So don't need it. So this one we need to shop my stash to replenish. Moving on to highlighters. I pulled a bunch in and I'm doing the same exact thing. I guess this isn't a bunch, but I'm doing the same exact thing with my cream and liquids to decide which ones I want to keep. Mostly because I'm not a huge fan of either of those categories. Liquid and cream bronzers maybe a little bit more, but as far as like highlighters go, I want a dialed down collection of liquid and cream. Just not my preferred thing, and I only want to keep the ones that are the best. So let's go through this. I had two in here that are very similar. The Iconic London, which you can see I've used now you can see, I've used like a pretty significant amount of. I mean, as far as like liquid goes, you know, I feel like that's quite a bit. It's down here. I love this, the Roll Away Glow, and I think it's in Champagne Chic, but I don't know if it comes in any other colors. I love this. I feel like it's stunning on the skin. I feel like it's an easy application, and because it's just so creamy and emollient, I will like sometimes just mix this in with my blush and like stamp it in with a sponge. So good, so good. And I honestly think it looks so much more seamless and like lit from within than like laying a powder on top sometimes, that it's just gorgeous. The Ulta Beauty Golden Hour one is duping the Iconic London one. So I wanted to test the formulas just to see like side by side like which one was better. And honestly, they're really similar. They were so similar I couldn't even tell the difference between the two. So if you didn't want to pay Iconic London prices, this one from Ulta Beauty, the Golden Hour Liquid Highlight, like it's a really good option, I have to say. But I only need one and I want to keep the more expensive one. So I'm going to hold on to the Iconic London, and because I use it a bunch, I'm going to put it back. And then this one I'm going to pass along to somebody else. I give all my makeup to my sister at this point. Like I just collect a big box and she takes it. So her and my niece seem to go through it. Then I pulled in the one from Merit, the Day Glow, and this one is in Citrine, which is like the second lightest shade. You know, it's just too light for me, and I don't love this. I don't love like stick creams. Like if I'm dealing with a cream, again, something I would rather pick up that's maybe more punchy and I don't know, not as oily, because this has a really, really oily base. So I'm also going to pass this along. I'm passing a bunch of stuff along. This is like great. I feel so good that this month I was actually able to just like make decisions. Go on, get out. The one from Charlotte Tilbury, the Beauty Light Wand in Pillow Talk, I only got to use this once, but I do really enjoy it for a pinky highlight. It's again a really nice formula that you can blend in with blush, and it's like just seamless. It's more lit from within. So this one, I want it to stay. I don't want to put it back yet because I only got to use it once, but I know I like it. And then the last one that I had in here was like one of the first ones that I had pulled in for my everyday makeup drawer. It's the Nikkie Tutorials collab Glazed Donut Highlighter. It's so icy and pearly. You know, it's nice if you're looking for like a super icy highlight. And I did use this, okay? I didn't ignore it completely, but I don't feel like I got to use it enough for the rotation. So I feel like it needs to stay again. And I want to grab the highlighters. I think there's only like a couple left that are on the in quote chopping block as far as like the cream and liquids go. So this will start to become less of a trial and error and more of a I'm gonna get to use it all the time. So I feel like there's progress upcoming, like way more progress. I feel like I'm just finally getting traction. This thing is so gross. This thing could stand a cleaning, okay? And then down here was like basically all the things I had dedicated to my Project Pan. Yeah, I have panned a bunch of stuff. I've actually not just panned it, but I've like used it up. So I have a basket going of Project Pan update number 1. I hit pan on the Charlotte Tilbury, feel good about it. I like to keep like one loose and then one press powder in rotation. So I feel like because I've hit pan on this, it's definitely gonna go into the Project Pan video. So I'm gonna move it out. I might film that video like pretty soon. I don't know. It seems like unless there's like a ton, I just don't feel like it's great progress. Then I had the Better Not Bitter flower setting powder from Beauty Bakery, which Beauty Bakery is now closed, so you're no longer going to be able to get this. I use this like crazy. I use this every day. It's literally the only setting powder that I've used, and I just don't even feel like I've made as much of a dent in it as I would like. Like it's half gone, but I feel like it was half gone last month. So this one I would still like to keep in here, and I'll probably move in another pressed powder. I don't feel like I need to move on, especially in the summer, from this powder, because this is my favorite freaking powder and it really mattifies. So I'm mad that it's being discontinued because Beauty Bakery is closing. And then the blush that I had in my Project Pan was the Honest Beauty, oh my gosh, what is this? Cheeky Cream Cheek and Lip Color in Rose Pink. I've not even used this. Not even used this in 2 months. It's been sitting here this entire time. It's crazy how fast 2 months goes by. So instead of keeping it in the bottom, which I completely ignore, I'm gonna move this to my everyday makeup drawer and it's going to get used. Maybe I find that I don't need to Project Pan it because it's so hard to pan a blush. because I have too many. So I feel like it's more about changing my priorities to, I used it 5 times. I think that for blush has to be its own subcategorical prioritization. That a sentence that is a thing. So we definitely need to shop my stash for bronzers and or contours. Like, I kind of use them interchangeably. More highlighters, and then a pressed powder, and then I almost forgot, a primer. I definitely want to pull in a primer. I've actually been using primers like every day, which is something that I have said many times on my channel that I don't always use primers, but while I have them in my collection, I'm definitely gonna try and get some use out of them, especially because I feel like I've pared down the primer category during my last declutter too, mainly to the ones that I absolutely love. Some are kept because they're a little bit more popular, but mainly because I absolutely love them. So let's move on to the shop my stash portion. Okay, as I mentioned, I'm not at the critical point of being able to rotate a lot of these in. I'm still testing the final like cream formulas to really decide whether or not they're gonna stay or go, because those go bad faster. But the ones that I have here, this is brand new to me and I love it. The Iconic London Illuminator, and it definitely stays. Another formula, drier, but still good, is the Blush in Champagne Spray from Makeup by Mitchell, Made by Mitchell, I don't know what I'm saying. And then I'm just putting back the Iconic London. So I love all of those. I have either one, tested them, or they're new and I know that I love them because of relativity. So the ones that I'm going to pull in, this 27 Rosier's Miss Fame. I have talked about loving yellow highlighters, and this one seems to be fabulous. And it's used for like a multitude of things. You don't need to just use this as a highlighter, but I have never found a way that I really like this. So I said last month that this one was probably going to be in the chopping block the next month, so it's definitely going to be in the chopping block. Oh, by the way, I'm doing highlighters just because it seemed easy to set the camera up here first. I guess we'll do primers last. It doesn't really matter the order, I guess. And then these two, those are the final liquid ones that I have in my collection. I have the Glow Sculpt from Tarte in the shade Pearl Glow. So it's kind of a champagne-y one. And then I have Gold Glow in Laura Mercier's liquid highlighter. Now, I remember loving both of these, but I feel like I don't need two in this color unless they're just different. No, Laura Mercier is definitely more gold, and this one from Tarte I feel like is definitely more champagne. I might hold on to both of these, but I don't know. I don't even remember if I love the Tarte formula, but I definitely remember liking the Laura Mercier. It was so much more subtle, but for whatever reason, I loved the light reflectiveness of it. Like, even though it was subtle, it looked really lit from within and not super choppy and patchy on the skin. So I thought it was a really good formula. So we'll pull both of these in. If they end up being formulas that I want to keep, then I can rotate them like I can do with all the other powder products and get really good use out of them. So that's it. I think we're just going to pull in these 3 in addition to the 2 that I pulled in for my testing new makeup. So, I mean, that's like 6 total, I think, right? Maybe it's 7. So that's definitely good. Let's move on to bronzers. Okay, I only adjusted the camera slightly. I emptied this drawer out pretty good because I just did a video. I might actually have it on my channel before this video goes up. It's just like the timing and filming and all of that good stuff. This camera is lopsided. Is a little bit nutty for me right now. So I have a ton of bronzers right here in this bin of all the ones that are like either kind of reddish rosy leaning or they are not orange bronzer. So I want to make some recommendations to you guys about my favorite bronzers that don't come up orange on fair skin. So for that reason, I have taken a lot out of this drawer, although what I'm trying to do is pare down this drawer because it's my liquids and creams. So I'm really trying to decide which ones get to stay, which ones get to go. I mean, this whole drawer has to be rotated, so I have a lot more work to do here than the highlighters. I know where I want to go with this. This is the only other like liquid with these ones. The rest are creams. I feel like liquids go bad faster than creams do. Would you guys agree? Like, something in me, in my brain, just says liquids don't last as long as creams. That's kind of what I found. So I have the contour wand from Physicians Formula. I did get this only in January when this released, because I think this was part of their spring 2024 collection, even though it came out in January. I had this since last year, the Liquid Sculpt what is this called? Sculpt tape in soft bronze. It's supposed to be a contour because it says contour here, but it's absolutely not. It's like a warm toned bronzer. I remember loving this, but do I need it? Do I need it? Does it pull now too orange for what I'm reaching for? I don't know. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the Winky Lux. I want to give it a shot. I want to get it to the skin. And this is totally a limited edition collection that it doesn't, the product no longer exists. Kiko Milano comes out with a ton of collections that just come and go. They go out, they're beautiful, they're gorgeous, and then they like get rid of them. And sometimes they will bring the actual product back. It will just be part of a different collection. This was part of the Beauty Roar collection. And this was in 01 was the shade. I also remember really liking this, but it might again be, do I need all of them? Because I only need one or two. You know, the Charlotte is more of a contour, but these two or even three are more bronzing. So which one is better or best, I guess. So we'll pull those in. Then the final one I'll pull in is the stick from Merit. This is the Bronze Balm in Clay. My son is like downstairs yelling. This one is cool. It's not too orange according to me, or my memory anyway, but it's so balmy. I don't know if this is something I'm loving to reach for. Like, I've definitely raved about this. I don't have any other product that's quite like this, other than maybe the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Skin Enhancer. And this one is in the shade Light, is kind of balmy like that, but nothing else I have is quite this thin and balmy of a texture. So it's kind of nice to have it in the collection. But again, do I need both? I just feel like I don't need everything. My collector's mindset is over as it pertains to bronzers. Like, I don't need it to compare it or to talk about it. I just want to move it along is how I feel. So this one will get tested as well. And that makes, I think, just the 4 bronzers, and I think that's okay. Like, if I end up testing them and I feel like I need to pull more in than I can come back here. I have some up here too that you like can't see. But then it's going to be these stackables next month, I'm pretty sure. Because I was swatching some of these and I remember them being cooler on the skin, and then I was swatching them against my cooler toned ones and I was like, oh wow, these are kind of orange. So these actually might get passed along as well. And bronzers are just not an area that I want to mess around in. I feel like there's 2 shades. I like it if it's a darker contour or if it's a lighter toned, cooler toned bronze. Like, that's it. Okay, or maybe like a rosier toned bronzer if I'm looking for like a little bit of warmth and I don't want it to be orange. So I feel like I get 3 total shades in bronzers. Like, that's it. 3 different variations. But blush, you can go all over the place. I don't feel that way about bronzers. I just want to keep the ones that seem to make sense, that actually are flattering. Because a ton of different blush colors can be flattering. I feel like bronzers, that's it. We don't get as much variety. So I feel like that is good. This drawer is looking great. I might be able to even combine the powders, creams, and liquids at some point. I say that now, but like, I've got all that shit I just showed you in the basket. Bin, not basket. Look at this bruise, you guys. With all this moving and stuff we have been doing, like, I built a bed and it was one of those like purple mattresses, and then I was like throwing it. Oh my god, that thing weighed like 200 pounds or 150. Like, it was dead weight, huge mattress. And I was pushing it onto the bed frame that I built, and then I jammed my knee into the bed frame. Like, it has been freaking wild. Like, moving people here and buying houses, and I already have 2 kids and a full-time job. I'm so tired, help me. All right, let's move on to primers. This is always like the weirdest angle to try and like film at. This is pretty much the best angle I'm probably gonna get out of this. So I know that I am reaching for more pore filling primers at the current moment, and probably something that is more mattifying for the summer. So I don't want to grab anything that's like too hydrating, and probably not something that's on the newer side. So I want to skip this because this would be great. However, I have been moving items like this into my makeup vanity in the morning to get ready because it's like a primer / sunscreen step. I love it. I love it as skincare. My house is starting to get wild. So what I would like to grab is this Rare Beauty Pore Filling Primer. This is older in my collection and want to use it up probably. You know, like, what's its effectiveness at this point in its lifetime? But let's just do this while we're here. This e.l.f. Halo Glow stinks. Stinks like
nonsense. What if I had this like 7 months? I don't even want to put this on my face. It only has a 6-month shelf life. So I'm going to pass this along. I literally tested it and I've never reached for it since then. But I also had the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter in my Project Pan for the longest time. And I almost panned it before it went bad too. And that's why I say I feel like liquids just go bad faster. So I am going to throw this away because it's not only past its expiration, it stinks. And so I know the expiration is not lying. I think I'm going to pass this along too. We might as well just declutter this. It's the Illuminating Glow Primer from Moira Beauty. I just buffed this in and it didn't even seem like it stayed. So as much as I love Moira Beauty, and don't get me wrong, like their products are genuinely top notch in my opinion, plus for price point, they kill it. They kill it. So many people talk about e.l.f. where I think Moira does like as good a job as e.l.f. does. In a lot of cases better. And their price point is also sometimes comparable or even better. The problem is you have to buy everything online because the only storefront they have I think is in California, which is such a shame. So I feel like that's the reason that Moira doesn't have like an edge in the market, is because they're not like at Ulta and you know you can't get them in drugstores or whatnot, and I feel like they would do so much better if they did, because they come out with new releases like, you know, it was ColourPop 3 years ago that would never stop dropping stuff. But I'm going to pass this along. Having said all of that, it's great. It's light reflecting minerals, blah, 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 blah. I like mattifying like 95, 6, 7% of the time. So this is kind of a product that I have to keep a minimal collection of. And that Lumi Glotion is also good, but shows up maybe a little bit more than this one does. So if you like something lighter, oh, this is so good. It's just not for me and my oily skin. Okay, let's pull in one more. Let's pull in the sticky guy. Let's pull in the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer with 4% niacinamide. It's getting so late and I'm like squatting trying to film this. Let's pull this one in, and that's good. I'm going to hold the camera for this portion. I want to pull in one pressed powder. It's summer, so it needs to be like better than an Hourglass kind of finishing powder, better than Laura Mercier finishing powder. Some of these other pressed powders are newer. I feel like this Moira one, as far as pressed powders go, is probably like the oldest maybe. And then it's probably the Revolution Super Matte, or maybe it's in a different order. But I'm going to pull this one in because it's like waterproof. My cat's over here like, Mom, hurry up. Let's go. Okay, I'm hurrying. You want to come up here? Come on. Okay, she's on my lap now. All right, let's do this. Let's put all of these bronzers back. This cat is wild. Get your little booty out of here. Hello. All right, the 2 primers I will put up here. And then the setting powder I always put at the bottom. And that is everything. I feel so good. I feel like this is actually manageable. And it may not be like crazy, but it definitely isn't feeling overwhelming. The only thing that I didn't really show you guys is the eyeshadow palettes, which I can go over with you just for the sake of continuity, in case you guys are interested in checking out what I've got going in my everyday makeup. It consists of the palettes that I've already tested once, like I've done a look on my channel with them, and so I'm still trying to use them. That's where they typically wind up to get more uses. That's how I rotate them. That's how it like makes sense in my mind. So I'll show you guys those really quickly and then we're all wrapped up for July. Okay, here we go. These are all of the eyeshadow palettes that I am currently working on, and I feel like I do it in this really strange order. I'm like trying to use these ones first, but I feel like I'm going to move this one out as the Ace Beauté Flare palette. I feel like I'm actually going to feature this in a video, in my palette a day series video, testing all of the indie shadows that I've hauled, because I haven't really used this. I used both the shimmer and the matte as like a companion. I didn't actually use it to make a look from this palette, so it's kind of sitting here unnecessarily because all of these other ones have already gotten used once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times, and I'm almost done testing them, whereas this one I'm not even close. Anyway, let's just move that along. So this palette from St. Angel Sinners is the Reckless palette, is in collaboration with Calvin Brockington. This surprised the hell out of me. This is so good. It's so strange too. Like, it's such a dark, deep, grungy color story for the most part, I think. And it's so random. Like, where the shimmers are placed is strange. I can't even tell you why they did the layout like this, but they did. Anyway, the shimmers are stunning. The only one that I have an issue with right now is like that this one creases on me. Anyway, this is going to go into a ranking. I have been using this quite a bit. I'm almost done testing it, but I usually like to use every single one of the shimmers before I'm done with the palette.
That's how I feel about it. This one I have used in a palette a day video. This was like the second palette a day video that I did, and I really enjoyed the look, although I feel like these three tones kind of come out similar on the eyes, much less this one than these two, but you know, still kind of too similar for me. I feel like some of the shimmers are a little bit pigmented, the kind that swallows the matte shades. So I've used this, how many times have I used this? Like twice now, still testing. And then the basic witch palette from Bella Beauté Bar, which is an out of stock palette. Actually, I don't know. I think this came back in stock. I think this is available. I only used this once in a palette a day series, but look at the shimmers. There's so much more I could do here, and I only used one of the shimmers, so this one has to stay. Do I need the sleeve? I don't need the sleeve. I like to keep it, but the sleeve doesn't have anything that the back doesn't have, so I should move it along. The Natasha Denona Golden palette, I don't know. A lot of golden tones, a lot of similar browns. I don't know. Did we need it? I'm not sure, but I bought it. And then the Mean Greens from Shine by SD I used once in a testing new makeup, so I've only used one of these shimmers, and the goal is to use all of them. So this is at least a week's work, a week's worth of work. And then the Cold Moon palette I only used once in a Shop My Stash. Look at all those shimmers I have to go. What shade did I use? I think I used Saturnalia. This shade right here. Now a lot of these shimmers look very similar in the pan, so it's kind of like difficult for me to tell what kind of look I'm going to end up creating until I've like swatched these out, because I think that these are actually very different like in application. The Ultimate Cappuccino I featured in a video. This is a fairly new release and I really like it, but I only used one shimmer. The Let's Get Nude is also a new release from Gloss Gods, and I've only used one shimmer. Oh my gosh, the look that I created with this though, I could see this easily becoming one of my favorite nude palettes. And then the Gloomy Gardens palette from Diaparoon Cosmetics. And I also loved the hell out of this. So these are all the palettes in my everyday makeup. Let's move these around, okay? Let's move the ones that I've tested, like the FIFO, you know, first in, first out, I think is how I want to do it. Natasha's somewhere over there. Let's just put Ensley right in the back because she's so big. I feel like this is the order in which they need to be used. Whatever came first needs to be used first. Anyway, it's the end of the month, so I need to do my palette ranking with most of these. So that's also upcoming. Anyway, you guys, that is the end of the video today. That is it for July. Thanks for joining me today. If you guys aren't currently subscribed, I'd love to see you subscribe. I'm out of here, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Bye, guys.